Michael Diedrich. Good morning, Mike.
Hi, Steve. How are you today?
Pretty good, thank you.
I heard you talking about governors of New York. I was thinking of Governor Teddy Roosevelt, who was an amazing governor. I have a book I'm about to read about him, but he was an extremely well-read man, and also he kind of embodied the topic I'd like to discuss today, which is American values and ideals. I thought of that because tomorrow is 9/11, and 9/11 was a tragic day for us here in New York. I remember on that day I put my 3 young children in the car and drove up to High Tor where we could get a vantage point of the smoke billowing, and I said to them, that my 3 kids, I said, you're looking at a change in history. The world has changed today, and it did. It did for me personally. I ultimately did 2 tours of active duty, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan because of 9/11. But the topic today, I thought we should ask, as far as the soldiers that serve in the military who served in 9/11, also all the EMS workers. One of my commanders lost basically he had the day off, and 9/11 happened. He basically lost his whole company in that tragedy in New York Fire Department. But the question is, what is worth fighting for and dying for? And I thought I'd ask that of the viewers today to get their input as to what they think of as basically core American values. I mean, and I'm talking about core values, the most fundamental to us. As you know, I'm running for district attorney. Probably not a core value is having a choice on election day. I think that's an important value. I'm running because if I didn't run, the voters would not have had a choice on election day because my opponent is both on the Democratic and the Republican lines. So I think that's a value, a Democratic value. But I'm wondering what the viewers, listeners think about core American values. What do you think of that, Steve? Do you think people might want to call in and give their opinion on that?
Well, the number is 845-429-1700, should they choose to. It's a pretty vague question, but it's food for thought.
Well, yeah, it is vague, but we have in our county today big fights, the Democratic leadership against the Republican leadership, everyone calling each other names, and these issues of whether somebody's an anti-Semite, whether they're not anti-Semite, and the Attorney General and the Governor, getting involved, putting in their 2 cents, and I think people should take a step back and start asking, well, what do we really think our democracy is and should look like, and should we have for example, our legislators calling people names, and what are our values? What's most important to us? I think we have a call.
Hi.
Hi, you're on with Mike Diedrich. Go ahead.
Hi. Do you hear me through the radio?
I can hear you.
Oh, good, because I don't hear you through the phone. I only hear... Okay, now I hear you. Listen, Mike, I want to ask you something. Then I'll answer the question in my opinion. What line are you running on?
I'm running on the Serve Rockland line.
Okay, in other words...
Independent. It's an independent line.
Fine. In other words, your opponent is everything. He's on every other line?
He's on the Democratic line, the Republican, and the conservative line.
Okay. I don't see how any person could be everything. Not that I'm criticizing if you're one thing, you're another thing, but how could you be A and B at the same time? See, right there, you have my vote. Just for that reason, okay?
Well,
that's the first thing.
Well, let me address that. I think.
And then I want to say about core.
Oh, hold on a second.
Nobody else called.
Hold on 1 second. Let me respond to the first part of your question. As to my opponent running on the Democratic and the Republican and the conservative line, I think it's unprecedented in the history of New York State that in a countywide race for an open, vacant office, that you have the same person on both the Republican and the Democratic lines. I don't think it's ever happened before, and it really should give people pause, because what was going to happen was on Election Day, the people were going to go to the voting booth and find only his name, and I think that's awful that the political system in our county allowed that to happen. Let me hear your second question.
Okay, no, but I was going to say, well, one thing, how could you be a conservative on the working party line? I mean, the whole thing is getting completely out of hand. People just want to keep their jobs and keep the status quo.
Well, by the way, and he's not an incumbent, because occasionally you get incumbents that everybody loves their job performance in office. But he's not an incumbent. In fact, he has never prosecuted a case or defended a criminal case. I have prosecuted and defended criminal cases, but yet he was the anointed person for both parties. And exactly, if you're a liberal Democrat, why are you voting for a conservative Republican? And if you're a conservative Republican, why are you voting for a liberal Democrat? It makes no sense.
Completely no sense. Okay, that means the fix is in. Okay, that's the first thing. Wait, let me think. Then I'm going to give you some advice too. Do what Governor Pataki did. That's how he won Steve. Ask Steve. He knocked on his door. Go walking around knocking on doors in areas which you think you might get, because it's going to be hard. Okay, now about core values.
Now, on that one, by the way, then Assemblyman Pataki walked and visited my babysitter's door. So
okay.
yes, he was boots on the ground.
I remember Steve telling that story years and years ago, because I've been listening to Steve for years. Now, core values. I think people are afraid to have core values, because if you have a core value, you're an ism. They can say, oh, you're this, you're that, you're against that. All right, what are my core values? My core values are hard work and not to get anything for nothing. Okay? And you just have to be tough. My father came here in 1928, alone, a boy, a month before his 17th birthday, with 2 suitcases. He didn't see his mother again till 1948, only because she came here. And he made something of his life. Nobody gave him a damn thing. Okay? And so now I'm a horrible person by saying such a thing. You work hard. You go to college, you work. If you don't want to go to college, you work, you get a trade if you're capable of doing it, which in this day and age, being a plumber, an electrician, or a carpenter is better than going to college, because college is a dime a dozen now. So those are my core values. So now I'm a horrible person.
Well, I think you're going to vote for me, and that makes you a very, very good person. And 2, you sound like a very good person. Self-sufficiency is part of part of the individualism and self-reliance that I think is a core American value.
Now, the only thing I feel sorry for, and I'm for, if somebody is sick. You know what I'm saying? If you have sickness in the family and you want to get them good medical treatment, you want to take good care of them, then I could see, helping people. But aside from that, enough with this helping people and helping. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're going to pay every college. We're going to give everybody $1,000, what is it, a month or a year? I mean, what's going on now is completely different.
Well, let me go into the isms part. Here's maybe it's old-fashioned and maybe it's too idealistic. My ism is patriotism. And it's not in an unthinking sense. I'm a lawyer, as you know. I've influenced the U.S. Supreme Court in constitutional law, and the thing that makes America great and different from all the other countries in the world is not that our people are anything particularly different, because guess what? We're a bunch of people from all over the world. We're as diverse comes. So it's not our people, our ethnicities, or our religions, or any of those types of things that make America great. What makes America great is, frankly, our ideals, and the ideals were the brilliant ideas of the founding fathers of the company, who realized that people are selfish and self-interested, and they devised a system where people could get along by competing against each other in ideas. So that's the brilliance of our constitutional system. And as I've said in my first show last week, for example, the First Amendment has a bunch of just crucial American values in there, but two that are very relevant to Rockland County relate to religion. And one is the Free Exercise Clause, and that means in America we believe that everybody can believe whatever they want. You can believe in the tooth fairy if you like. It's your right to believe as you choose regarding your religious beliefs or not having religious beliefs, either way. And the second thing that balances that is the Establishment Clause. And the Establishment Clause of the Constitution says we're going to keep religion out of governance. We're not going to allow the establishment of religion in the United States. And the Founding Fathers knew very well from looking at the history of the world, and in particular the various religious wars in Europe over the centuries, that we can't let religion intrude into politics and governance. So, those are some very vital values that are American. So going back to my point with patriotism, and again, that maybe it should be Americanism, constitutionalism, or some other ism, but the thing that makes, I think, America great are ideals, and I'll list a few that I think are core ideas, and these are ideas that I think should be taught in school, that all Americans should grow up with, and they should be inculcated in the thinking of everybody because they're American. And here are a few. One is the concept of is liberty. That you can do whatever you would like as long as it doesn't harm other people. We're the home of the free, right? So liberty is, in my view, a very important value. Another is self-government. We're having a lot of trouble with self-government in America today, but I think especially at the local level, we see it here in Rockland County, when you have people running for village and town offices, you have candidates that are able to walk house to house, like then Assemblyman Pataki did, when he visited my kid's babysitter and shook hands and introduced himself. And by the way, when he was my assemblyman, he also took my call. He was in my district in Stony Point. He was my assemblyman in Stony Point. That's being responsive to people. And at the lowest level of government, in other words, the town and village level, we really have pretty good government in the United States. This particular election cycle, you're going to have a lot of people, for example, people on this new SAM line, who are going to be going out and talking to you about things like redistricting and talking about how important it is to have redistricting that's fair and not gerrymandered. And I think most people know what gerrymandering is.
I'm going to interrupt you. Maybe
Sure.
Old people know what gerrymandering is, but I don't know about young people.
Well, it was...
But I interrupted. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good question because, gerrymandering harks back to the, politicians' days where they were drawing maps and the map ended up looking like a salamander because it was designed in order to maximize the elective power of one particular group. And we're having that...
I think his name was Jerry something.
Yes.
Right?
Right. It was a combination of Jerry and salamander.
Right.
Became gerrymander. And we're having that in Rockland. We have it to some degree even right now. I mean, in my district, District 1, which I lost when I ran for legislature a number of years ago, I won every district in Stony Point, but I lost in Sloatsburg by greater margin because District 1 is gerrymandered, where the district includes Stony Point, all of Harriman Park, so I could try to get the votes of the bears and the deer, all the way over to Sloatsburg. And Sloatsburg, on the other side of the county, they didn't know me. So that's an example. Right now we have, if you go to the Clarkstown What They Don't Want You to Know site, Chris Carey has some words on, Annie Paul and Chris Carey are discussing this, and Chris Carey has a map which shows how parts of the various legislative districts all touch into Ramapo.
Ramapo.
11 out, and it's very interesting. And that's what politicians like to do, try to do. The Supreme Court has said we, the federal courts, are not going to get involved in gerrymandering. It's a political question. So what the Supreme Court has done is punted to state courts. State courts are taking up that mantle, and New York courts could act. But really, more importantly, is just for the citizens to realize what's going on, and to, this election cycle, pin your candidates down, whether they're Democratic or Republican or Sam, Serve America party, and I'm on the Serve Rockland party, pin them down and ask, what are you going to do regarding redistricting? Pin them down and try to hold them to their word when it comes time for that. Another value, I think that's a core American value, is equality, a feeling that everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. Obviously, everybody's not equal in ability or motivation, and that's what makes free enterprise such a great thing. You work hard, you achieve more than somebody who doesn't work hard. But it's the equality of opportunity that's the American value. And I think the last one I want to mention would be individualism, and I think that's both in a creative sense and also, like you started with the values, core value you mentioned, self-reliance and being able to be responsible for yourself. We need individualism in America. That's what our country, I think, is all about. It's
like, for example, even in a family, all right, in a family, we'll say two brothers. Why does one achieve and one doesn't achieve, or doesn't achieve to the same level? Because you have to have the fire in the belly, and if one is willing to work and work and work, and one isn't willing to work and work, you can't expect the same level of achievement. For example, even with the Pilgrims, when they first came here, it was supposed to be a cooperative. They don't teach this. It was a cooperative. But after the first year or so, the governor saw, my goodness, or the person in charge, I don't think he was the governor then, they says, oh, hey, these people aren't working. They says, no, we're not going to divide it equally. You have to work for your dinner, so to speak. That's what I'm getting at. Everybody has to work hard, and but you want to know something? People could argue with every one of the things you said. Of course, I agree with you. What we stand for here in America, at least we did with the founding fathers. I don't know if it is now, but I'd love to question young people. You're going to have a hard battle, but I wish you a lot of good luck.
Well, you have really good questions, and all these things, I think, should be discussed by Americans, because I think they're what we're all about.
You'll have another caller. I'm glad.
Well, thank you so much for your calls.
Well, you have 3 votes in this house, and I'll do my best. And if I get a sign, I'll put it on my property.
Oh, great. And I have a website, Diedrich4districtattorney.com, and I'm also on Facebook.
Okay, Diedrich4districtattorney.com.
Yep.
Okay, I'll call you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we lost a call online. If you want to try again, 429-1700, the next caller.
Well, she had very good questions on the topic of individualism that she left with. There's so many different aspects of how to express individualism, and just financial success. That's not the only thing. A lot of people want to become artists. A lot of people become philanthropic. I mean, people go into all sorts of endeavors for all sorts of reasons, and benefit the public in all sorts of different ways, and making a lot of money is a goal of a lot of people, but a lot of people, that's not the primary goal. A lot of people, other types of self-satisfaction are their main goals. Look at Mother Teresa. I mean, I don't. So, Steve, what do you think?
I know people have asked me through the course of the week when you were going to be on, so they're listening, and they can query you. Why don't we go to the next call, if that's all right?
Okay. Topic is values and idealism, and why the military fights for our country, and why our people should be supporting our country.
Hi, you're on with Mike Diedrich.
Good morning. Hilda Kogut from Chestnut Ridge. How are you today?
Hilda, how are you?
Fine, thank you. First of all, I wanted to say that I support you in your candidacy, and I'm going to do anything I can do to help. I think that you're the right candidate. And before we even discuss my question, I just want to say that I'm still very perplexed that we have a multi-party system of politicking, if you will, and it still makes me scratch my head why this county produces a candidate that's endorsed by the Democrats and the Republicans when there's a difference, obviously, in their ideologies. But I guess we could talk about that on another day, but it's still shocking because it denies people the opportunity of the two-party system, and that stinks.
Well, let me don't go away. Let me.
I'm not going anywhere. We have until 10 o'clock.
let me address that question head on, because there's not that many question marks. There is on the Republican side, because my opponent is a lifelong Democrat.
Yeah.
And the Republican Party and the Conservative Party chose him as their candidate, and he, like I said, he has never prosecuted a case or defended a criminal case. You know, how was he anointed when the Republicans certainly had other, fine people out there? I mean, the person I ran against in 2003, Michael Bongiorno.
Right.
He's qualified. I never said anything bad about him. I wanted to beat him, but I never said anything bad about his performance as a DA, and he's a Republican. Tom Humbach, the county attorney. Tom is a brilliant attorney. He's Republican. Why didn't they pick him to be the candidate for district attorney on the Republican line? So there's a big question as to why the Republican Party picked a Democrat to be their candidate. And on the Democratic side, as you know, I withdrew from the Democratic primary. I'm a registered Democrat. I withdrew from that primary because of various reasons, including my dislike for the hierarchy of the Democratic Party here in Rockland County. But as to the Democratic side, the block vote went 99% in favor of Tom Walsh. So he became the Democratic candidate because of the ultra-Orthodox block vote. So that otherwise, Ken Zabrow.
Well, that explains the Democratic part. The Republican part still it makes you scratch your head. And I guess I don't want to waste time discussing it, but anybody who's a reasonable human being is going to scratch their head. And again, why you pick someone who has no prosecutorial experience to sit in that seat is a shock to me.
Yeah, well, I think it's the small c corruption we see in the county. It's not payoffs, but it's a system that's politically dysfunctional, and it's not representing the people. And I blame.
It's not respectful of the county either. It's not respectful of the people who live here, because what they want is a vigorous office that's going to address crimes from the bottom up.
Okay, well that's okay. Let me get into that. But a final word is, I view it as equally bad from the leadership of both political parties. Both political parties are letting the people down, and that's why we need to vote for independence. Now, as far as your question about prosecution, I really believe the people should support the idea of an independent district attorney. You shouldn't have a district attorney who's beholden to any particular group or political interest or special interest. You need a DA like me. I'm somebody who's been out in private practice, and like I said, I've done my military tours, but I'm not beholden to anyone other than the people of the county of Rockland. And I mean all the people. I've been all around the world. I've been on humanitarian missions to Africa. I've served in combat zones in Iraq and Afghanistan, in Europe during the Cold War. I've been to China. I've been all around the world. People are people, and I respect all people. But what I don't respect is leaders who encourage unlawful conduct and crime, corruption, non-transparency. That's the type of thing. If I'm elected DA, I'm going to go after the people that cause lawlessness and crime and corruption in this county.
Well, I agree with you that the issue of transparency, I think about the multitude of elections that happen here in the town of Ramapo. I vote in Chestnut Ridge. I vote for the school board. I vote for the library budget, etc. And it's always of great concern to me when I vote, because I see situations that are really not appropriate in terms of opportunities for everybody to vote. Whether it's questionable practices regarding somebody who comes before the individual who's checking you in, because I see time after time after time that people are either not caring, they are tired, or whatever it is, and they stop looking to see who's signing where. And I've seen it myself where people have signed in other places, and then somebody comes to vote and somebody has already signed in that spot. Now, whether that's corruption or laziness or overwork, I don't know. But I think that these issues, the walls need to be shorn up on the whole election process, particularly in the town of Ramapo.
Hilda, I got some other calls we want to try to get into before 10 o'clock comes up. Mike, can we take one more?
Yes.
All right, hi, you're on with Mike Diedrich. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. It's a pleasure and honor to talk to you. I'm really hoping that you do win. But Gracie, when it was a few callers ago, she had mentioned, Pataki, and you had said boots on the ground. I really think people, and it's not just in Rockland, it's like a national epidemic. They don't value their vote or the vote, their opportunity to vote. So I'm a little concerned that, I really do believe that the only way you're going to win is to get the people who just, they just don't vote. They don't care. So how are you going to attack that? I mean, you have short time. I don't know how many, volunteers you have, but you have a great message, and I think it's the message that most people want to hear. Whatever ethnicity or religion they're coming from, it's the message that most people resonates with. And the concern is just that people aren't going to get up and vote, man. So I wish you much success, but I think you just need to be a little bit more like on fire, man, and get the people off their butts, man, and to the voting.
Well, you're my district leader number one where you live. Come on board. Listen,
I'm going to reach out to you. I'll do what I can, man. But
you know what?
Really going door to door. Door to door is the philosophy that we need.
Well, I'm one person, and what I need is door to door by a whole bunch of helpers that believe in democracy, and also a big thing here is. My opponent is on, like I mentioned, the Democratic and the Conservative and the Republican line. So a lot of voters just instinctually go to the ballot box and say, you know what, I'm a Democrat, I'm just going to vote straight line Democrat. What they need to see this year, and people need to point out to the voters, is if you're a Democrat and you vote the Democratic line, you're also voting for the Republican and the Conservative. And if you're a Republican or a Conservative and you vote that line, you're also voting for a liberal Democrat. And that should make no sense to you.
No, it makes no sense, Mike. It makes no sense. But what I'm saying is I think time needs to be spent on gathering volunteers, man. It's crucial that we get together a team, whether it's 5 or 10 or 15, and each is responsible to go door to door. It's got to be that. That's the only way you're going to get this, is to convince the people who are not educated or who just don't give a damn about this beautiful county going to shambles. So I'm all for you, man. I'm going to reach out to you, man. All the best.
So do this. Go to my Facebook page and then private message me, and that'll get to my team, and then my team can reach out to you, get you a sign. We're having lawn signs going up throughout the county, and the momentum's growing. This is a grassroots campaign, and we need to go down. Mike, I'm going to be at the very bottom of the ballot. Vote.
Listen, what I do is this: the next 4 months is my busy season. I'm in 20 to 30, 40 houses a day throughout the county, giving estimates, offering my service. So I'm going to make sure that I talk to these homeowners about this most important race that's going on. So I'll have contact, with homeowners, because that's my job, is to go to people's houses and do my services that I offer, which I don't want to throw a free plug on the air, but most people listening probably know who's talking right now. But with that said, I'm definitely going to send you that message today. I'm a man of my word, and as are you, and that's why I hope, you win the DA race. It's the most important race we had in a long time. So best of luck, Mike. You'll definitely be getting my message sometime today.
Well, thanks so much for your call.
Absolutely.
And your support. I look forward to it. We'll get you literature too.
No doubt. Be well, Mike.
Thank you. Well, that was an inspiring call. Like I said, the apathy is working against me. If people don't realize they have the same person on the Democratic and Republican lines, if they don't realize that, they may just vote straight party lines. And what they need to realize is two things. One is that in and of itself should be offensive to them. And two is, and this is much more important, is I'm the much better candidate. I'm the person who's prosecuted and defended criminal cases. I'm a civil rights attorney. I know how to do things that'll respect everybody's constitutional rights, respect people, and also not respect the corrupt elements. Those people I'll throw in jail. I think our time is probably
just
up.
somebody else wants to join your committee, and so you might want to mention the website or a phone number or something.
You can find me on Facebook. If you do Facebook, and then just private message me, or call my office. 942-0795 is my law office in Stony Point, or visit my website, which is www.diedrich4districtattorney.com, and my name is spelled Diederich. Diedrich4districtattorney.com.
Okay, Mike. I think it was very successful. You were gaining, attraction as we go along each week, and you're with us every Tuesday morning at 9:30. Correct?
Yep.
So we'll see you next week.